Enlighten you.
Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate it. Can everybody hear me at the back? Yeah? We all fine? Yes? No response. I'm getting a thumbs up. Brilliant. As Paul's mentioned, what I'm unashamedly going to do today is really give you the view from the consumer, from the customer. I mean, it's very easy for us to be here, a mobile conference, digital conference, and focus in on that and view that within the bubble, if you like. Now, it's critical that we look at the broader context in that respect. And it's no accident that on the right-hand side, we've got a visual there of the busy shopper. I was going to say this is us after the conference going out, but of course I've picked the one day where it's the most pleasant, warm day. I think spring is officially with us. So, if you like, it's critical that we join that up. We look at the overall ecosystem, the digital and the non-digital side as a whole. Paul's already alluded to this. It's important that I just state where I come from, what my heritage is and what our organisation's all about. Yes, we are a full-service research agency. Therefore, our interest and also my passion is understanding what the customer's about. You know, in terms of usage behaviours, in terms of purchase behaviours, motivations and barriers to purchase. How can we get those triggers going? And then we see it mobile primarily as an additional channel that's come along, and that's had a major impact on how we are perceiving services, and using goods. As well as that, over the years, spent a hell of a lot of time within the retail channels, through from QSR outlets through to the major multiples. So it's interesting once again drawing all of that together, and hopefully we can really tease out some insights and illumination. You're probably thinking, well, I've already seen this slide, nothing new on that. This is almost just a reminder from my perspective to say that a lot of the data that we draw upon within this session today is from our tracker exercise, something we called M-Track there. Now that tracks usage and behaviour in relation to mobile, social and also tablet. And it's a UK active user base, which are effectively everybody who owns a mobile and regularly uses it and uses the internet. And we draw upon some of those figures. But critically, you're probably thinking, Scott, well, why don't you actually answer the question that, of this session? You know, what do consumers actually want? And to my mind, it's no different to any other channel, as I mentioned. Ultimately, it's about delivering that first-class customer experience. And this is a phrase I know we bandy around within the industry and within sectors a lot, but that's fundamental to what we're looking to achieve with mobile. And ultimately, that is about delivering a fast, efficient, effective service for those who are on the go, and it must be available on the go. And as I mentioned, that is therefore, it's no different to any other channel, be that in a servicing context or ultimately an acquisition context. But let's step back a little bit and provide a little bit of a prologue and some context for mobile from a consumer perspective. What I want to start from is really my personal heritage, and it's interesting, we always find as researchers, interesting to look at people's apps, what they're downloading, you know, what is on their phone. Now I can see a few smiles around the room. You can already get quite a good picture of me, my purchase behaviour from some of those apps up there. Yes, for my sins, there is a Commodore 64 emulator, going back to when I was still in short trousers, but also there's a lot of deal commerce apps there. My wife will tell you I'm pretty tight. Also, though, there's other things such as mobile banking, mobile insurance apps. I have to say, with mobile insurance app, I didn't ultimately purchase because it was a real pain in the backside filling those forms in. And also social media sites. So we can learn a lot just by looking at people's phones. Also, and this is where we start to get into some of the numbers, and hopefully it won't be too dry for you. I'll probably pick up if it is, if everybody starts walking out. But ultimately, in terms of average number of apps that people have, it comes in at 20. For mobile shoppers, if you cut that data, our tracking data, that goes up, And I fall just within that area. Also, content-wise, via the mobile, What are people looking at? What are they downloading? What are they consuming? Now, top 5, we've got news and information. 4, music. 3, at the top there, we've got news. Number 2, we've got social networks, probably no surprises. Anybody want to hazard a guess, apart from Paul, because he's seen this before, what comes out top? Research, no. I don't think anybody's as dull as me, so no. The key thing that comes out is weather. That surprised us first time we saw it. The numbers must be wrong, but it's not. You know us Brits, we love our weather. We quickly, when we wake up, see what it's going to be like, what we're going to wear, etc. But critically as well, where does shopping come? And that's in it just below that top 5 at number 6. Now, I said there would be a few numbers and bits and pieces on here, and this is exactly the case. What have we got coming out in terms of data that's been used, content that's been consumed? On the left-hand side in the green, we've got those who do these things or accept these things. On the right-hand side, we've got potential. I'll just give you a moment to digest some of that data. So you're probably saying to me, I'm thinking there's a lot around comms and content, and yes, there is. The other thing is that there's a lot of untapped potential. But what about when we look at shopping and m-commerce? Again, look at those numbers. For those who have ordered products and services online, we've got 29%, ordered groceries, food, drink, 15%, booked movie tickets, something around 14%, and then booked travel and a holiday, 14%. Now, a couple of things I take out from that. One, if you look at the potential, once again, considerable untapped capabilities there. Equally, in terms of these m-commerce and the ordering these products, etc., we've got scope. We want to be where some of those numbers at the top are, and there is the potential to do that. What I also want to do is just really take a very quick scoop through m-commerce and its growth. We tend to look across the Atlantic and where it's going, and we tend to follow. And generally, I think that's a useful start point. Some big numbers there in terms of mobile shopping behaviour, and there is a true explosion. 56% are now comparing price information online. 46% are comparing different products, and the numbers are there. The other thing is we've got tablets. Now, in the US, visits to retail sites via the iPad now outnumber mobile devices. Phenomenal. Probably thinking, well, that's interesting, but what about the UK? Now, this is then our data. So we've got 29% of those who have participated in our study have paid or ordered for something via their mobile, 5% via their tablet. So big numbers. Also, in terms of that mobile shopping behaviour, it's really showing how it's growing. And once again, that hard number, 1 in 7 are ordering groceries or food and drink via their mobile. Big opportunities. So why this shift in user behaviour? For me and for us, it's about 2 key drivers. One is about availability, and the second thing is about usability. So what do I mean by that? Let's start to delayer those. First thing, it's about a mobile addiction. I mean, we all now sleep, the mobile doesn't go off, you get text in the middle of the night, first thing you do is check your emails, you get told off by your wife for doing that. So that's the situation. Also, availability now with a smartphone and true mobile web means that we've got access. Also that usability. It's easy and getting easier. There are also, as we've heard throughout the morning, there are a lot of useful apps and functions. And ultimately, that is therefore ingraining new sets of behaviours and tasks. So that's a little bit about the context. What I thought it would be interesting then is really to focus in on one of the sectors in particular. And what we'll look to do that with is food and drink. Now, mindful, it's 2012 now, I haven't missed that fact, but I think it is interesting to see what we're seeing as the main trends for 2011 actually see whether they have come to fruition. First thing is mobile barcode scanners. That's what was picked out. We've got it, it's here, it's been used. Smartphone ordering, again, we've got it, we're using it. And finally, talkback packaging. You probably think, well, what is that gobbledygook? But effectively, that's scanning back of packaging, scanning QR codes, scanning barcodes to see if there are allergies, what's in a product, etc. I mentioned a little bit a moment ago about smartphone ordering, and there you can see some of the apps, very American those ones, but we've got it here with good old Pizza Express. That's coming through very strongly. You can see there, you can find the restaurant, you can order what you're going to have, and ultimately you can pay now via your mobile, and that's a reality. So that's restaurants and QSR restaurants, etc. What about the in-store, the in-retailer experience? And ultimately, mobile's turning that and has turned it upside down. There is scope to go further, but it really is changing our shopping behaviour. We've got in-store apps now. I already talked about it, Red Laser, etc. We can scan products. We can undertake comparison shopping. And also, there's a lot of mobile point of sale activity occurring. And that is truly then bringing together the digital and the non-digital worlds in a very powerful hybrid experience. I mentioned about Red Laser, and you can see some of the capabilities there. I mentioned it. Stores, you can find out where your local store is. You can check the price information. You can scan all sorts of barcodes, and you can check nutritional contents. We're also very aware in terms of mobile payments. NFC-enabled mobile platforms really takes things on to another level. And when it's entered the mainstream press, you know it truly has arrived. I'm mindful that some of those are maybe less positive headlines, but it shows it's coming and it's entering the mass consciousness. Similarly, as major catalysts, we're all aware of what iPhone and iPad have been doing, particularly of late. Again, iPhone 5, if that comes, it is rumoured to be NFC enabled. Incredibly big opportunity for them, and will start to change a lot of shopping behaviour. Granted, most of us in this room may have a smartphone with us. We're slightly atypical, we've got to be aware of penetration levels, but it shows us where we're heading to, and heading to rapidly. That said, there are still barriers and limitations to that usage. Around concerns around security, critical, we've got to really reassure, and also in terms of physical rollout and availability, so that NFC payments are acceptable in stores. Back to my numbers, which I love. What we've got here are really some of the advanced features that are coming. And once again, on the left-hand side, we've asked whether you've used, and also asked then on the right-hand side, are you aware of but not used? And just to rattle through those, we've got barcode scanning, deals and discount vouchers sent via locality, QR codes, augmented reality, which I should have maybe touched on, which Tesco are trialling at the moment in store. Some nice bits online and via your mobile you can see in terms of to free up big chunky items for retail space. There was a nice thing they've done for the, I believe it's a Lego Millennium Falcon. So you can see it, turn it round, play with it, great. So Tesco then doesn't have to physically have frees up quite a bit of shelf space. And then mobile contactless payments, which we'll come on to next. Now with the contactless payments, yes, very low, only 4%. But let's look over onto the right-hand side. 67% of aware, and that number in green, that 51%, I'm not sure whether you can actually read it, but that says who would be prepared to use instead of paying via a credit or debit card. Great opportunities. The final thing, in terms of opportunities-wise, is also around deal commerce and how mobile can really drive that forward, because it's highly relevant in relation to the mobile platform, because it delivers relevance in terms of time and place, it delivers that relevance in terms of interests, and it can also deliver that relevance in terms of value. Why'd you say interest? Well, you know, retailers and you guys are clever now in terms of holding a lot of customer information. You can really focus and personalise the offers that are then being sent to the individual. Very, very powerful as a trigger mechanism to purchase. That said, some of these things are coming, but the opportunities are still considerable. What we looked here was just amongst retail and food and drink companies, asked them what the level of association was with mobile. And you can see at the top there, no coincidence and no surprise, I think, that the digital retail brands are coming out strongest, 46% and 44% for Amazon respectively. But let's look below that into the second tier. What are the levels for Tesco, Argos and Asda? Far, far lower. The other thing is that within that area, within the retail and food and drink, we've got 30% of consumers who are associating no brand to it. And what about some of these other brands? Low levels. So you strip eBay and Amazon out, they're great opportunities to own that platform, to own that sales route. Now, what does the M shopper look like? Now, what we've got up here is just some simple demographic information in terms of everybody who is participating within the M-Track study, so they're a UK digital active society. Let's compare how the mobile shopper profiles against that. Now, broadly in line, but you can see, and in blue I've highlighted where it's over-indexing. It's younger. You're probably sitting in there saying, well, okay, no great surprises. The really interesting thing for me, though, is around gender. It's pretty much gender neutral in terms of the mobile shopper. And we within the office just, again, thought tech, you know, it's going to have a major male skew. That has started to flatten. Yes, there is a male level of over-indexing in certain categories, such as gaming and gambling, but within shopping, it is far flatter. Mobile is becoming an integrated tool for everybody. It's also worth, I think, looking at some of the advantages of the mobile channel as perceived across the different consumers. You can see, and at the top, these are responses that have come out. 65% of those buying via mobile see its benefit because you can use it on the go, it's convenient, I can do it in my own time. It's putting the shopper, the individual, in control. And a few just general, not our work, but tags, just tick list if you like, ideally for what an ideal shopping ad should entail. I think this morning and later you'll have far more greater direction in relation to that, so I won't harp on too much about that. That said, those are some of the opportunities. I mentioned at the top of the session, it's all about customer experience. I mean, ultimately, that's a bit fuzzy, really. And there's some really hard numbers that illustrate that. And this is a study which was published in eConsultancy. But I think the numbers are really, really compelling. If you look in that chart, that bar on the hard right-hand side, and that is about looking at the purchase channel and the quality of the customer experience. Now, only 8%, I can't even read it now, only 9% stated that was good. Look at that versus the other channels. We've got a hell of a way to go. And critically, there are other things in the news this week. You know, we can see there from Net Imperative, top 10 UK retailers failing to accommodate the mobile shopper. And something else from TUI, which is interesting for me, talking about mobile and personalisation to be focusing on. Now that thing is critical. Personalising the offer to the individual. Incredibly powerful, but we've got a hell of a way to go. And these are therefore some of the barriers that need to be overcome. Yes, we've got functional issues around small screen. We've got lack and loss of connectivity and that security concerns. Those are the major ones. There's a panic amongst consumers. We see it when we speak to them. Or what happens? I'm part of the way through the purchase process. I've lost my connectivity. Has the money come out? Oh, panic. that is a major barrier that can be overcome through comms, through reassurance, but critical. And that word cloud, I think, reflects that. There's also other functional issues, and that verbatim on the left-hand side. It's not always easy to navigate around sites if not set up for mobile use. But let's follow on that security trend. We've looked at really the levels of security associated across a number of different platforms. The two that we've highlighted with the lowest, or two of the lowest relative levels, look at them. Mobile 11%, and I can't read this from this side, 10% for the tablet. So that's perception. We've really got to communicate that, reassure if we want this explosion to continue. And we mentioned about customer experience. We've put, again, some hard figures here and looked at those mobile shoppers. What was their last experience like via the channel? 48% good. Okay, one level, that's not bad. But we've got a massive 52% who said it's not good. And some of those verbatims, are illustrative. I won't go through all of them, but I want to focus in on a couple of the negatives, again, if I can read it. One from HMV, somebody purchasing a game. I prefer to use the PC to buy things because it takes too long to navigate the mobile phone. But Debenhams, somebody buying clothes. The small screen made it awkward, more awkward than doing it on the laptop. Not something I'd do too often. Again, illustrative examples, but I think they are directionally give us a clear picture. I also want to look at and touch on is in terms of app visibility and access, and that can be a problem. And you can hopefully see across the left-hand side some of the search terms that I put in. So you can see from the top left, shopping, supermarket, local supermarket, food shopping, and so on and so forth. Now the first thing that hopefully will strike you, where are the big boys? Where are the major players? They're not in there. We've got games coming through, and then for local supermarket, yes, Morrison's are in there. There's no other apps. So we've got an opportunity to optimize that interface in terms of search. QR codes. We see a lot of them. I know Paul's got one in his lapel. But again, that experience once again can often disappoint. And reasons for that, being that, or perceptions can often be around that the phone has no capability, can't be used. We've got to communicate that it can. But that upper arrow at the top shows that the experience with QR codes is not overly positive. And we've also got to be selective about where we use them. We saw one in town the other day on the back of a bus. Now, how's that going to work? There's a QR code that I picked up on a packet of potatoes. I couldn't scan it. I tried. I physically couldn't. So really just to round it all off, what are our key messages? I think first thing is around improving security and really pushing that reassurance and confidence. And some illustrative comments again. Make the payment secure and convince me that it is. We've got to improve the usability. Typical comment, I want quicker loading times and fewer links, and improve the awareness. What can you do? And the nice comment here, being able to point the device at an advert, which is then turned into a real-time app, real-time movie app. That's what I want. That service already exists. So I've got to communicate that to the consumer. What's if I click them on? And finally, I just really want to round this up. We said about research, but we've completed, or 7% of those completed this survey was via a mobile or a tablet. Now, for me, that is incredibly powerful. It was an online survey. We didn't quota for that. So people are moving in that direction. If we don't embrace those opportunities, but be aware of the customer experience and tailor our offer appropriately, then we really are missing an opportunity. Thank you.